And this is a perfect time and place for the theme of this year, transitions. We're definitely going through some of those. I do want to point out two signs for slides. If at any point you would like to get them on the subtitled slides, you can get a copy of the slides with some subtitles, the gist of what I'm going to be talking about. And also, there are hyperlinked slides in the bottom there. If you want some of the articles and resources I'm going to be referencing, you can get those in the hyperlinked slides. Feel free to help yourself at any point. And there's also a landmark for our Educare Island. It's a nonprofit campus welcoming first-time educators and administrators to take a low-stress introduction to virtual world learning. And given that, let's jump right in. Here is a brief overview of our topic today and a little bit about me. Please let me tell you just a little bit more about myself as well before I start and what seems to me to be going on in the world. We should always consider our sources, shouldn't we? I am a retired sea captain and a still working chaplain. I'll likely slip in some nautical terms as we go, especially relating to stormy days and rough seas such as we have, and of course the ruling forces of winds and currents and tides beyond our control. I've been following world affairs for a number of years as an educator, as a journalist, as a social worker. I'm one of those road running adjuncts for some 20 years now. I've been designing and teaching on ground and online courses, specializing in transcultural methods, serving international programs and students. There are some of the courses that I teach there at UCLA, UCSB, California Lutheran. I've worked with a number of learning platforms over the years. More than half of the courses I teach are online. So the place of our teaching has been limited to that learning platform, whether it's a Blackboard or Canvas, Collaborate, Brightspace, whatever. These platforms provide a sense of gathering, but they don't provide a sense of place. And for some 20 years, I've been designing educational builds in virtual world platforms, looking to provide that sense of place. It's given me a sense of what works, what administrators are looking for, what students like, even though those are often very different things. Before I was an educator, I was a journalist for national and international media. I covered the fall of the Soviet Union in the 90s, and that was another transformational time. How often do we get to witness the fall of an empire? Well, maybe twice in a lifetime. I also worked in community and international economic development programs, including USAID, UNESCO, Head Start, and elsewhere, always trying to stay current and forward thinking. Some of my research has been published, a number of journal articles on the future of global learning, where this is all going, how to develop transcultural distance learning opportunities for international gatherings. There's a link to my UNESCO article on the sign. There it is on the slides. If you get a copy of the slides, you can take a look at that. Another article plug is the Journal of Distance Learning Administration out of West Georgia, University of West Georgia, asking, can global learning still save the world? And the short answer is yes. You can take a look at that article and see some of the arguments why. And for those of you that may have caught me in one of my earlier talks, you know that I've been focused on finding our cultural commonalities so we might better understand our differences. And my research, my publications have been on transcultural themes and images that connect cross-cultural gulfs, the most resonant of those themes being animals and children. Here are some combo shots. They're hard not to smile at. And if you are smiling at these, well, that smile is our cultural commonality. And that's, I know way too much about me. I'm trying to establish some credibility here so I don't seem too pretentious as we go on. So, our topic today is transitions as people and as a society. I believe that if we look at the major evolutions of our species, that we can compare our growth as a civilization to our growth as a person through infancy and childhood to the trying teenage years to adulthood and beyond. Ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. I think that's what I'm getting at here. The agricultural revolution took us from wandering nomads, hunting and gathering, or the human equivalent of learning to walk our first childhood steps. And after a millennia or so of that life, we evolved again, moving from the farms and fields into cities surrounded around industrial revolution. And this might compare to the human puberty as we venture out and find new roles. Often those roles are specialized and unfortunately often dehumanizing. We've had centuries of that. And then came the digital evolution. We're in my life frame here. Many of you remember the excitement of the 80s when we first started all logging in and networking with one another. Interconnected to this vast world of information and interaction. And we can see that as similar to the challenging phase young adults go through as they learn and they start to earn and developing their identities further. And here we are now in the age of artificial intelligence, just a few years old to most of us, as we shift from our workaday demands to a time when we might be able to reflect more on just living a truly rich life, not based on money, but with older and wiser, holistic minds, embracing rather than exploiting. And that's how I want to live in old age. And when we look at this, all in all, we have not done too bad in just 10,000 years, as messy as we are today. At least we keep heading in the right direction. And we can see that evidenced here. Look how we see some of our most ancient aspirations play out in our current scientific works. The all-knowing Oracle of Delphi is now Oracle Cloud, the all-seeing Akashic record of all that's been done or said or thought. Well, that's now Facebook. And we now grab energy from the air as wizards. The cornucopia of plenty is alive in 3D printing. And our efforts here are imperfect for sure, but I do believe our vision will continue to aim for the light. Here are two hopeful points that I find hopeful anyway as we start in here. One is the United States. We're only 4% of the world's population. I think here in the U.S., we sometimes tend to see ourselves as much bigger than we are in the global space of everyone. I think ultimately the rest of the world would get along just fine with 96% of everybody else, even if we completely fall apart. And also hopeful, I do believe that much of the rest of the world is also facing these global winds of left versus right across Europe, Asia, Africa, Latin America, the haves and the have-nots, and the people of good intent versus the not so good. We are sharing this phase all around the world. And the good news in that is the very best and brightest of each of us in every country, in every corner, well, we're working to move us ahead and beyond the barriers in front of us. I know some of them. You know some of them. You are some of them. And that gives me hope. And here we are living in some existentially chaotic times for sure. Here's a link to the Global Trends Report put together by some pretty smart people and agencies. talking about the next 20 years, taking us into 2045. What are we going to be facing? This is about 150 pages long, but it's a really good read. We're going to have abundant and cheap energy. Well, there is the huge game changer ahead. And also inexpensive access to universal information, health care, quality living is the prediction. Of course, on the downside, we're also facing ominous threats of privacy intrusions and technological overreach and all the failures and divides that come along with that. And there's bound to be even more division along social fault lines. We're seeing that in the news just today. We definitely need to learn how to get along better with one another. One of the biggest shakeups, one of the world shaking breakouts right now, of course, is artificial intelligence. And it's coming for just about everyone. It's not just blue collar factory workers on the chopping block this time around. It's software publishing and computer design and professional services, such as legal and marketing and accounting, are all on the chopping block. You know, and as I use AI now quite a bit in course design and research and graphic arts and medical and legal advice and how-tos for just about everything, I wonder what's to become of all the workers that used to do that stuff. Also on the mind of Bill Gates in a recent CNN interview, he said his biggest fear concerning AI, what really scares him, is the existential threat it poses to us as a people, rather set in our ways, given how we often identify ourselves through our work and our wealth. He says we should be okay in the short run as some of these new powerful models kick in. I was just reading about Gemini 2.5. It's going to be coming at us fast and furious. But Bill Gates says as we advance 10 years from now and beyond, we need to consider how are we going to shape our new society and maintain purpose and values and coherency without it being based around what we do for a living and how much money we make. And he says this is going to be a big challenge for humanity. One of the darkest points on the horizon is this evolving useless class of people. That's what the Guardian here calls them. People who are not just unemployed, but unemployable. And there just won't be enough jobs. So what are we going to do with these people? Well, interestingly, this article says they might spend increasing amounts of time in virtual reality worlds, which may provide them with the excitement and emotional engagement they may be missing in the real world outside. I've been referencing this articles for several years now in my presentations, and boy, were they right on point when they wrote this. One of our biggest and most immediate challenges to overcome may be our negativity bias. Some of us are feeling especially negative these days. It burrows deep in us. And it's a simple problem. We're easily scared. We are biologically wired to focus so much more on possible or perceived harm that it's so much easier simply to scare people than it is to inspire them. Some interesting articles here on that. There is a proven ratio to counter this negativity bias. And it's simply we give ourselves 5 positive ideas for every negative one to balance out. We don't need equal time. We need extra time, 5 times as much time to bring a positive message and get it to connect with our audience. So we have to repeat hopeful messages 5 times more than every one for fear, and that's just to get us back to 0. Another problem we have is just overwhelming sadness. It seems so many memes that I see today, there's just such an air of sadness about them. As they say, if you're not a little sad, you're just not paying attention. Here on this slide, again, you can get the links from the PDF file. It's a piece from the Better Health channel that talks, excuse me, about happiness and sadness. And we all go through times of sadness, but we can learn to manage it, and we can even benefit from our sadness. I think that if our longing for something out there, it registers so deep inside of us. I see that as proof that somewhere it's out there to be found. If you're a regular news watcher, speaking of the negativity bias, it seems that at most times everyone is corrupt on the news. Any efforts to make things better are likely in vain. And it's that negative bias that things are bad, troubles are coming our way, that captures our attention so well. But really, one commonality that we do share is that we are good, caring, generous people at heart. In a recent study, 200 participants in 7 nations were given $10,000 each to spend however they wanted. And some 7 in 10 people, 70%, spent most of the money on people other than themselves, even when it was kept a secret and they got no glory from it. The money mostly went to their family, to friends, even to strangers and charity. And the remaining 30% of the greedy, selfish people who put themselves above all else, well, even truth and the planet itself, they put themselves above. Those are the ones so often on display that we see in the news, in business, in politics, in media. But they're actually a minority. We zoom in on them in a close-up, so it looks like the entire world is ablaze. I used to do that when I was covering forest fires. If you couldn't find a big blaze, you just zoom in on the flames and make it look like the world was on fire. And then also anger definitely is one of the emotions of the day. I am a redheaded Irish Taurus. I ignite at times, but I do think it's possible to be hopeful and angry at the same time, especially if it stimulates positive action. It might be recategorized as righteous indignation rather than anger. There's some interesting pieces here on this slide on the positive ways to channel your anger towards virtuous change. Anger may even have some personal benefits, says the American Psychological Association in a piece linked on this slide. If you're feeling especially angry today, go ahead, take a look at this. It might provide you some comfort. As we are going into a new transition here, well, science fiction has given us many models of societal leaps, quantum jumps from hard times to better days that we might consider as we're formulating our own new path ahead. Star Trek famously shows a future where humanity has moved beyond the limitations of a market economy into a post-scarcity world. Nothing is scarce anymore, where replicator technology and abundance have replaced the competition for basic resources of food and shelter. We get to redirect our awareness, our consciousness, our efforts. In the Orville, this is a wonderful show streaming on Hulu. If you haven't seen it yet, give yourself a treat and check this out. Kelly Grayson, I don't remember exactly what her role is there, her rank. I think she's a lieutenant commander. She explains their advanced ways of living to a young girl taken from a troubled planet, very much like Earth, and it's written there on the slide. She says removing money as the human motivator is the part that newcomers have the hardest time adapting to. We're so used to thinking of reward and contributions in terms of money. If you Google what somebody is worth. It's going to give you a dollar figure what they're worth. But instead of money in the future, the currency of that time is reputation. We still are going to have people competing with one another, arguing with one another, but it's reputation that's going to be on the line rather than earning. So if you do something, anything that benefits our society and you work hard at it, in the future, in this world, you are considered rich. The only life considered poor is one that's wasted on apathy. And to me, that sounds like a very worthwhile world. Already, we are trying to redefine our purpose in circles dealing with such things. If we're not going to be employed and defined by our careers, well, what may be our purpose in life if it's not to work and earn? Well, here's a piece from Fast Company that says artificial intelligence may actually help set us free with a real potential for humans where we are not defined by our jobs, but a newer purpose to prioritize the planet and the people over profit. We got a ways to go before we're thinking that way. This piece in The Guardian says the change may already be underway in disciplines from neuropsychology to economics, where we're coming to recognize both the natural and social worlds as orchestras of interdependence, of survival, as an essentially collaborative and cooperative business seeking a global vision wherein we see our lives and our fate is intimately connected to those of everyone else on the planet. We're already seeing that in multiple fields, that realization, and it's beginning to filter down to the rest of us too. We definitely have some transformative changes coming. Many of these I'll be talking about are just in the last year or two. Developments in food production and water purification, biodiversity, financial fairness, cancer research, disability inclusion, peace building. Here's some more changes ahead, more advancements in medicine, renewable energy, ocean cleanup, near and dear to this captain's heart, conservation, education, mental health, and global distribution of health care. These changes are rolling in like an inexorable, irreversible tide. They can't be stopped. Time magazine ran a story on 13 ways the world has gotten better as we worked our way through 2024. Sharp fall in COVID deaths, a 50% drop in violent crime, a hefty drop in oil demand as we turn more to electric and fuel cell cars and trains and boats and planes. The article also shares some good news in gene editing to counter disease and real climate solutions and ocean conservation and major advancements in surgical science. And stuff we don't see so much in the news, unfortunately, as they focus on ratings and they know that negativity is the way to capture people's eyes. But this is happening out there, and you can access these hopeful articles by downloading the PDF of these slides. There's active links in there, and I can assure you, as much as I'm plugging these slides, nobody is selling anything here. I'm just a teacher sharing some of my experience and also a nonprofit, which is nothing about making money. I can promise you that. The Guardian has a fresh report on 5 ways science is making our world better. New tidal waves in stem cell transplantations, cancer vaccines. The James Webb Telescope continues to astound us. Some new pictures just coming from that telescope. And renewable energy is also stepping up its pace. Let's look at some specific examples, just some of the steps along the way that is making our life so much more promising ahead. I especially love aviation stories. I'm a private pilot. Here's something coming from NASA. They call it the Prius of airliners, with hybrid electric engines, cutting fuel use and emissions by up to 80%. That's expected to be in the air within a decade. One of the biggest sticking points for flying cars has been air traffic control. But we may be able to work through that with some designated flight lanes. The FAA, at long last, is allowing air taxi test flights in designated cities, all in preparation for widespread service. As we get better at cleaning up our old messes, science and technology again is serving our aspirations for clean and healthy homes. Scientists in the UK have discovered a material that will suck up and store large amounts of nasty greenhouse gases, even faster than trees do. There's a great article on that in Futurism, linked on this slide. I love the idea of space efficient homes. I mean, how much space do we really need anyway at one time? What are we? We're about 1 cubic meter, maybe 2 cubic meters of mass. Most of my stuff is in books and papers. Who needs those anymore? This home that we're seeing on the slide here, this is made out of an old wind turbine. They get replaced and leave a shell behind. And this tiny prototype here provides about 400 square feet of living space. I don't have too much more than that in the condo I'm at right now. Even more good news for renewable energy. Recent Popular Mechanics article describes a new electrode design that can cleanly extract oxygen and hydrogen right out of seawater. This technology in itself may well be a game changer, they say in the article. Well, here's some more good news in a way. It's also heartbreaking at the same time. All this rubble from bombed out buildings, thousands upon thousands of buildings destroyed, left behind in Ukraine and Russia, buildings blown up, and in Gaza. Well, what we can do is this mess can be scooped up by this new machine that converts rubble into building blocks that interact and interlock and stack without mortar for extra speedy construction. And more news on the war front here. Here's a gel about to launch that can be squeezed into bullet wounds and stops bleeding within seconds. The FDA here in the United States has cleared its use for moderate to severe bleeding. It reminds me of the Alpha Gel in the Kingsman movie, if you ever saw that. You know, stories like this can make us more angry than inspired, that these are the kinds of products we're fixating on, you know. But while we're fixing people, let's also look a little bit about what's being done to fix our planet. Here are some even more positive messages. Environmental reporter Bill Weir was on CNN covering how to unscrew a planet. That's what the title of his segment is. And he has expert guests sharing hopeful results in carbon removal and solar-powered travel and climate intervention, and just increasing a global awareness of the problem and what works. My favorite example was this trial of sprinkling artificial whale poo made from volcanic ash and rich in nutrients. And they sprinkled this over a patch of starved desert sea. And within just 4 days, there was fresh phytoplankton. And just 5 days after that, this desert was full of fish. And to me, this is truly inspiring in a way that we can fix this if we simply give it our attention. This excellent report, really, it'll make your day. It is on YouTube. There's a link there on the slide for that. You can also get a transcript if you want. I tend to prefer transcripts myself. Let's look at some other positive trends that we may lose focus on in the midst of all our drama and trauma. Look at what happened to extreme poverty in just 35 years. We still have today 1 in 10 people living on less than $2 a day, and that's a horrible thing to pass on to the next generation, but it's sure a lot better than it used to be. My generation, we inherited 3 in 10 people in extreme poverty. I remember that from my days in Vista. And we've done a really good job in reducing that. Next generation, well, now it's your turn to fix the rest of it. Let's take care of that one poor person in 10 that is missing out on all our abundance. Hunger is falling around the world over the last 10 years. We've decreased hunger by more than half in some large country regions. Child labor is on the decline. Hazardous work for children is decreased by 40%. Global life expectancy has increased by 6 years over a 25-year spread. We're now living twice as long as we did just 2 centuries ago. Back then, you would have been middle-aged at 20. Child deaths, mortality by age 5 have fallen by half over 30 years. People around the world are shooting up in height, getting taller. Look at that jump since the Industrial Revolution due to better nutrition and living standards. Homicide rates have fallen all around the world. Stockpiles of global nuclear weapons are declining. More and more people around the world are living in democratic countries. Also, more people are going to school for longer, especially in many developing nations. More people are getting online around the world as internet access is rapidly rising all across the planet, so essential for education and communications. Solar power and other alternative renewable energy sources such as wind are now cheaper than gas or oil per megawatt hour. There's a major milestone right there. Cheap energy, so crucial to our next phase. Here's a story on that topic, a recent article in the New York Times on how we can end worldwide poverty with our efforts to get clean, affordable energy to some of the 3 billion people in the world who don't give enough. And boy, that is going to be a global game changer right there. Lots of other sources for energy, so critical to our path ahead. Solar, fusion, wind, water, 5G, wireless electricity beamed around the city. We're going to be beaming electrical current through the air. Another global game changer right there. A number of interesting articles on this slide, if that's a particular interest of yours. Scientists at UMass and Amherst, well, they've developed a thin film of protein nanowires. We could create power, pluck it right out of thin air by sucking up some atmospheric humidity. Talk about magic right there. Wind energy is still continuing with strong growth. You can see miles and miles of windmills driving to Las Vegas through the California desert. That's where I am here in Southern California. More mini homes. I love the idea of mini homes. Housing is also going to benefit from newer and cleaner technologies such as these. Oh, look at these pretty little places. Low cost and energy efficient solar floating homes about 1,000 square feet in living space. That's really good. 12 meters in diameter, 4 meters high, for those of you that prefer the metric system. And it's got a roof topped by solar collectors, a very efficient way to live. Here are some samples of 3D printed homes created right on site, and it can use local clay. It has zero waste product. Several homes can be printed at once using multiple crane printers. Housing, so important as well. We're going to be able to print organs and skin and faces customized, forever young. More exciting technology. This has been around for a while. The Danes invented the life straw that can filter out waterborne diseases such as typhoid and cholera and dysentery and diarrhea that kill as many as 6,000 children each day. And these only cost $3 each. I have a couple here just in case. Here's a clever design. This lets a small village boy here roll some 100 pounds of water back home. It's amazing how sometimes the most effective designs are the simplest after all. Some problems that we have yet to overcome, the digital divide in education, and how many people are still left out of this. And, you know, it's a really good indicator of education's power when we see how often it comes under attack. Universities, educators, and students coming under attack. Well, if we didn't have such potential and potency, we would simply be ignored. We must work harder to bridge the access divide for sure, especially between rich and poor countries, mostly split between northern and southern hemispheres. We need to ensure the digital divide isn't further compounded by the content divide. We need appropriate course materials that connect and resonate across national, cultural, and economic boundaries. That's an issue dear to me. Access isn't going to count for much if we aren't giving quality content to be accessing to. As educators, and I know many of us attending the conference this year are educators, which means that well, we are obligated to take a better look at this new generation of students coming up if we're going to serve them well. Already we have the alphas that are being identified as a future demographic to target. Here's a few interesting bits. Those in the upper economic tiers of the Gen Zers and the millennials, well, they're about to inherit some $30 trillion from retiring and expiring boomers over the next generation. What are these young people going to do? It also is interesting that more and more of these young heirs are saying they don't want this uber wealth. They just want to be able to live well, not necessarily grossly rich. News reports tell how many of them are planning to give much of their wealth away, including real estate, art, and jewels. And that coincides as well with the bulk of millennials and Gen Zers who right now are unable to find well-paying jobs with any kind of future. Many of them are sullen and depressed with high rates of drug abuse and self-harm. You know, not everyone wants or needs to go to school, but for those who do, we can make learning more accessible, more inclusive, more engaging, more relevant, even more fun. There's no reason why anybody desiring an education isn't given access to that. This directly relates to the future of virtual world learning, what we might be facing in the future. Here's some data from survey results published in the Chronicle of Higher Education on what students are looking for in the post pandemic era classroom. And they are 90% of the students want to be able to submit their work online. Now they've gotten a taste of that and they're used to it. Nearly 70% want recorded online lectures and online exams. They're perfectly fine with doing that part of their education remote. But more than 80%, and this is where we come in, more than 80% of the students say they want some kind of interaction in settings where they can connect with other classmates. They want to gather for small lab sessions, group work, symposia, chances to meet their peers and collaborate, and most likely even to party. That's really never changed in generations of students. I remember on my college days, we loved college. If it just hadn't been for all the classes and homework, it would have been a perfect life. Which leads us to the question, well, what must we do, those of us in education, in technology, with good intent? Here are a few suggestions to people that are designing virtual worlds and technology for educators as we get ready for showtime. First, well, it's to polish everything up and get ready for closer scrutiny because they are looking at us closer than ever now. I've brought a number of institutional leaders, administrators into Second Life so they can take a look, and they are beginning to ponder how we might tap this, especially if we can save them considerable money in new construction by providing virtual worlds. Online learning is only going to grow now. I've been teaching online classes for 20 years now. I developed the first online hybrid course for UCSB back in 2000 for their international program. And that was just to give our students, our international students here in the United States, a chance to interact with each other and keep from getting lonely during the rest of the week outside of class. And ever since then, it has become now institutionalized. It takes those of us that see the possibility, and I know, do the sacrifices, take the ridicule. I was ridiculed back in 2000 for thinking that online conversations was somehow going to serve learning, and here we are doing it again with virtual worlds. The educational platforms and programs that are trying to fit into this, as well as us virtual world designers, well, we need to really understand what's happening in the realms of academia, these old stodgy administrators who just don't understand the tech and just want to go back to the old days. There are limited funds available for this. The startup costs, can be sizable. There is the overhead of demands, the learning overhead for students to develop the skills for participating in virtual worlds, as well as the instructors who design these courses. There are the Title IX horrors over privacy and harassment in virtual worlds. You've seen some of the stories on that. And there's also the performance standards that universities need to cover for accreditation. This has to be a serious program before they're going to be able to consider submitting it as part of their accreditation package. I have been pitching virtual world learning to administrators for some 20 years now. They're getting much more open to it, but this is typically the reply I hear. I'm sure you've heard the same thing, that there's just too much development time and cost, too high of a learning curve for the teachers and the students, and just too little practical use. So that's definitely incumbent upon us to start demonstrating the practical use of this. We need the creative and simple filters of TikTok for design. We need the functionality of Zoom, where slides and video and audio and files are easily shared with a single click that you can just show up and in minutes you're ready to go. Some of this is already happening. One point I think that should be abundantly clear is there is plenty of stuff for everyone to live well. Cheap energy, comfortable housing, open education, safe water, nutritious food, 3D printing of our most everyday necessities. The problem, as always, is how do we distribute our abundance? What do we do now? Well, we can start by finding better beacons that may help guide us. They're out there. We can choose to light a candle rather than curse the dark. And we can simply put our best face forward, a hopeful face, a confident face, informed, determined, and radiant with even a candlelight's bright. And there is my hopeful thoughts of the day. I do thank you for coming. That was a little bit of kindness. You've helped make the world a better place. I thank you so much for that. And here is my contact detail and link to my research website. If you'd like a copy of the slides, you can find it there. Just go to wwmr.us. There's even a QR there. You can take a quick picture of that. That'll take you to the slides. And it was a pleasure coming out today. Thank you so much. One more quick look here. I think I've monopolized the chat here with all the text from my slides. I'm going to wrap it up. I'll pass it back to our organizers here. And if there's any quick questions, I'll be glad to entertain those. In the meantime, have yourself a very good day and rest of conference. Bye-bye. I'm so glad you made it, Phil. You're always such a welcome presence in the audience. I think I managed to grab everything here without deleting anything important that belongs to them. Thanks again for coming out, Phil. We'll be seeing you soon in the Science Circle, I hope. And thank you, iSky. What a wonderful thing you're doing here. Another successful year. Congratulations on that. And I am back to some of my teaching.